More moves are coming as a recent report has revealed where the Boston Bruins currently stand with RFA Mason McTavish, and more reports coming out about a possible trade going between the two teams. We're going to be breaking that down, as well as who could be involved in this deal, and also going over Yegor Chinakhov, as more updates have come out about him and the Boston Bruins in his request for a trade. We have a lot to break down today, ladies and gentlemen. Before we do jump into this one, though, be sure to hit the sub button if you haven't already. We're on the road to 8K, and we're just over a third of the way there, excuse me. Your sports been absolutely fantastic as of late. We appreciate everybody watching these videos through a very busy summer for this Boston Bruins team, but I want to get into this first little bit of the article here from Shayna Goldman, a writer for The Athletic. She has to say this: anyone willing to roll the dice on McTavish has to see a little Dylan Strome in him, a late bloomer who needs the right opportunity. For some eligible teams, such as the Canadiens, the Bruins, and the Flames, and also the Red Wings, it's worth throwing a dart this summer. At worst, it rattles Pat Verbeek in Anaheim, who easily matches the offer. At best, it lands a team, a 22-year-old center who could thrive in a new environment. And of course, Mason McTavish is someone that we have spoken about here before, and taking a look at what he would bring to an offense right now that's still lacking just a little bit of firepower, he would be a very, very good fit right here. However, we also got to remember that the Anaheim Ducks have come out and said that they're very, very reluctant to actually let any team offer sheet Mason McTavish. The trade also likely not going to be an option. However, when it does come down to it, we know that Pat Verbeek is willing to make some moves, especially with more reports coming out about Olen Zellweger possibly being traded. Now, taking a look at what McTavish brought to anything, and you see here, although the Bruins could be a Mason McTavish second line, whether or not the Bruins will actually offer sheet him is uncertain. Anaheim would also likely match, as they don't need draft picks and instead could look to trade Mason McTavish for NHL players. So comparing that to where the Bruins currently stand on an offer sheet, they are one of the few teams available and still able to offer sheet Mason McTavish. Now, whether or not, of course, as we saw Shayna say there a moment ago, when it comes down to taking a look at what the Anaheim Ducks would be willing to do in anything, they would likely match any offer sheet. They have enough money. Pat Verbeek is, as I mentioned, reluctant to actually let him go. But a trade option could be one the Bruins are really willing to do. Of course, as we get a guy like Mason McTavish, that would really be the centerpiece of any deal just like this. The Bruins do have quite a few bottom six assets, quite a few picks that could work to give up for a guy like Mason McTavish if Mason McTavish and the Ducks are pretty far apart on a deal, which of course we just don't know as of right now where they currently stand, but it is pretty evident that they are not close just yet, as a deal has not even been kind of, sniffed around as of right now. But there is another part of this article I wanted to pull up from Shayna Goldman saying the Ducks may not want to make a commitment of that magnitude just yet. Goldman added, McTavish hasn't established himself as a true top six center yet, and some of his comps, like Maxime Comtois, Max Domi, and Casey Middlestat, current Bruin, add some question marks on just how much substance there is in his game. As much as the Ducks have short and long-term financial flexibility, management still may not want to clog up the books too early with a hefty McTavish extension. So now taking a look at this, of course, the name of Casey Middlestat is being thrown out there. Someone the Bruins have been looking at in a potential trade coming down at some point. Whether or not he will be moved this summer is still yet to be determined. I'm still fine with Casey Middlestat. I think that his game will translate well in Boston, especially getting some top-line minutes, although he kind of is in that realm of not really having the breakout that we all expected a couple years ago just yet, but it still does seem like it is coming. So I don't really want to say that a Mason McTavish deal or trade is coming, but there is definitely something in me saying the Bruins, and especially where it's coming out now from Athletic writers and also more and more reports about McTavish coming out and saying that an offer sheet could be a real possibility. Something's making me think the Bruins are going to be in on this whenever this does occur. So I want to know what you guys think about that there, of course, because when we do take a look at what this team offers, as I mentioned earlier, and we're going to kind of jump back to that here in a moment, it really goes to show that they need a guy like Mason McTavish in this lineup. Even he is young, but he is helping his team out immediately. And what I wanted to pull up here also is his stats and the contract. So jumping to Mason McTavish's stats real quick, you can kind of see 52 points, 42 points, 43 points. Very consistent as of this far, and of course 64 games the year prior to last was definitely a pretty good average and pace that he was bringing to, but he's been very consistent staying around that little over half point per game style of play, and of course being on the top six, being really wherever you want him to be. he's definitely a player that will have a lot of potential here. And at a price tag that he's projected for right now, either a 3-year bridge deal of just under $4 million or a 6 by 6.7, the Bruins would be able to move contracts that would equate to that amount to be able to make sure that a sign and trade is possible, or even go out here with the offer sheet and make that attempt. So I think this is something we need to watch, something we need to take a close eye on and see where things go, because I'm very excited to see how things do progress here on this style of a Mason McTavish deal with the Anaheim Ducks, knowing how kind of open they are to making a few moves here and there. So let me know what you think about that. But we are at another standpoint now where we had another update from a trade, a player that's requested a trade. This time it's Yegor Chinakhov, and I want to pull up a next update that we have from him here, going over with Michael DeRosa. Michael DeRosa really seems to be pulling for a trade here for the Boston Bruins, saying it's fair to state that they still could use another skilled winger in their middle six before the season. DeRosa wrote, with this, they should seriously consider pursuing Columbus Blue Jackets forward Yegor Chinakhov. Given the Bruins' need for more youth and skill, Chinakhov is precisely the kind of forward that they could be taking a chance on. Now, he's wrote a few articles about here from Hockey News on Yegor Chinakhov already, and immediately coming into this, it's a player that is very interesting for the Bruins due to his age, production, and cap. 3 of those things which are really going to matter for the Boston Bruins. And coming to take a look at what he does, looking at what this article also features, the Bruins are going to be active this offseason, adding more talent to the roster, but they still could use more, DeRosa said, and urges the Bruins to trade for Chinakhov in a potential deal. Now, this one does seem like there is a deal coming soon. The Blue Jackets do not want to wait on a deal here. I think that it's very tough for them to actually get Chinakhov back after it is something to do with Dean Evason, their coach, not liking him. That's really something that's hard to be able to kind of justify bringing him back after that stuff has come out. And we've known there's many teams in on Yegor Chinakhov, and now coming into it, I think that we're going to see a very heavy push from a lot of teams. And for Michael DeRosa, he's thinking the Bruins should certainly be one. So I still want to know your guys' opinion. We spoke about Chinakhov in an earlier video, but going back into what he brings to the table, I think he's a very interesting player due to being 24 years old at this moment. In the final year of his deal at $2.1 million, which is a very easy contract for just about any team in the NHL to go out here and pick up, but also being depth on his depth chart, 4th line left wing, can play that bottom 6. We know that he could also likely play the top 6, and with his point production not being great thus far, and having that potential RFA, kind of blockbuster signing. We know we see those a 3 or 4 year for $2 million. That type of deal coming from a guy like Yegor Chinakhov is something that really seems like it would be the case. And going into it, it seems like a very risk-free trade for many different teams. And we do go take a look at Chinakhov's stats here from this past season. Only 30 games, 15 points, but we saw kind of that same point total a little bit more over, a bigger span of games over the past few seasons. So we still not yet have seen him get to that level that a lot of people think he could be, but I think that's still a matter of time until we see it happen. So I want to know what you guys think about all of the news that we have here today. Of course, there's quite a bit of stuff going down, and we're going to have a lot more over the next couple of days as this report and all these all the stuff continues to heat back up and continues to get underway. So let me know what you think in the comments below, but that's all I got in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. Remember, we're on the road to 8K. Your sports is absolutely incredible. And so if you haven't hit that sub button at this point in the video, be sure to do so, because you're obviously looking for your Bruins news. But that is all I got. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.